Hello all, welcome to the channel Learn and Heal. Today we are going to have a comparative analysis of three kinds of learning that we have discussed in the last lecture. So let's have a look. Comparative analysis of the three kinds of learning: assessment as learning, assessment for learning, and assessment of learning. The first comparison is upon the purpose of assessment. Assessment as learning, giving the opportunity to student to monitor his own position in the learning procedure. Here the purpose of assessment as learning is to guide and provide opportunities to each student to monitor and critically reflect his learning experiences and identify what is the next step to be taken. Assessment for learning, the purpose is to enable teachers to determine the next step in advancing the student learning. Teacher can understand who is better and what to do next after completing this task or this learning. All this can be able to understand by the teachers in this particular kind of assessment. Then assessment of learning is to certify, inform parents or others about the student's proficiency in relation to the curricular outcome. Okay, in this curriculum or in this syllabus, how well he performed. All this data will be getting. So these are the purpose of these three kinds of assessments. Then what are assessed? Each student thinking about his or his learning, the strategies they use to support or challenge the learning, and the mechanism they use to adjust and advance in their learning. So the assessment is in this process of assessment as learning. The what are the things are assessing is it's about the students learning or the strategies they are using to support or to challenge this learning situation, and the mechanism they are using to adjust or to advance in their learning process. And assessment for learning, each student's progress and his learning needs in relation to the curricular outcome is what we are assessing. Then assessment of learning, what we are assessing is the extent to which the student can apply all the concept, knowledge, skills, attitude related to the curricular outcome. So in this particular syllabus, what are the things he have studied, whether he is applying all these skills or all his knowledges or concepts somewhere. So this can be assessed as. Now we will be seeing about the assessing methods. Based upon the assessing methods, how we can classify this. Okay, so let us take a look at the first one, assessment as learning. A range of methods in different modes that elicit students' learning and metacognitive processes. Like metacognitive processes means all means of processes, like how he is thinking, how his memory power is. So everything is assessed. Now we'll be discussing about the assessing methods right now. Okay. Assessing methods, a range of methods in different modes that elicit students' learning and metacognitive processes. All means of processes like how he is thinking, how his memory power is, everything is assessed here. So different methods should be used to assess these different kinds of abilities. That is what is done in assessment as learning. So assessment for learning, a range of methods in different modes that make students' skills and understandings visible. This assessment method is for the teachers to assess the students. Then assessment of learning, a range of methods in different modes that assess both the product and the process. So process and the result is what is very important here. Yeah, like you can see that the methods means you have to prepare the question paper as well as you have to give the answer keys. Maybe that might be that they are thinking about the assessment of learning. So assessment as learning, sometimes you can conduct the test, right? Maybe a written test or sometimes oral test. So all skills of the student should come out. So these are the different methods of assessment of the student learning. Next, we will be discussing about the ensuring of the quality of assessment. How they are in these three methods, how they are ensuring the quality of assessment. First, we will be seeing that assessment as learning. Accuracy and consistency of students, self-reflection, self-monitoring and self-adjustment. Engagement of the student in considering and challenging his or her thinking. Student will be recording their own learning. Here, assessment should be accurate. Here, the student himself can monitor what he is doing, what he done wrong to get the negative marks, what he done good to get the mark increase. So if he didn't score well, he can identify, okay, he didn't studied, so that I scored badly or I didn't answer properly, so he can ensure that. We will be discussing about the ensuring quality of assessment. In the case of assessment as learning, you can see accuracy and consistency of students self reflection, self monitoring and self adjustment, engagement of student in considering and challenging his or her own thinking. Student will be recording their own learning. And here also accuracy and consistency of observation and interpretation is needed, and clear and detailed learning expectation, so that the teacher should know the topic very well, and teacher is telling, okay, in this topic the average score should be 35 out of 50, like that kind of interpretation or expectation is needed in assessment for learning, because this is done partly by the teacher. And accurate and detailed notes for descriptive feedback to each students. They should give accurate and easily understandable descriptive feedback to the student. Then assessment of learning, accuracy, consistency and fairness of judgment based on the high quality information. Clear, detailed learning expectation, because it is following a proper curriculum throughout the year. Fair and accurate summative reporting will be there. Then we are having another basis of analysis, that is using the information from obtained from assessment. How they are using the information obtained from assessment. So these are a few points we have to discuss. So we'll be starting one by one. For assessment as learning, it will provide each student with accurate descriptive feedback that will help them to develop independent learning habits. Make each student focus on the tasks that are to be learned and his or her act of learning. Student report about their learning. So he understand his development from all the feedback he got. Then a future test will be there. You have to perform good in the test, so that you have to change something. You have to know what are the changes you should be making in your learning process. Then assessment for learning, provide each student with accurate and descriptive feedback to further their learning. To improve this learning process, this teacher must provide accurate descriptive feedback. Differentiate instruction by continually checking where each student is in relation to the curriculum outcomes. Like maybe some student will be very weak, so you have to give him what are the changes you have to make, and some student will be highly talented and he will be going on par with the curriculum, so you can appreciate the children and make him concentrate more, so that kind of things can be done. Then assessment of learning, indicate each student's levels of learning. Provide the foundation for grading students on the basis of their learning proficiency and deciding who are all to be prompted to the next higher class. Because here In this assessment of learning goes the decision whether you are eligible to go into the higher class or higher studies, or you should be detained in the same class to learn further. Then the same, using the information obtained from assessment, few points also to be added. So again, assessment as learning provide each student with ideas of rethinking, adjusting, articulating their learning. If his learning is having some problem, this is a time for them to rethink and readjust everything to come back with a good performance. Provide the condition for the teacher and students to discuss the alternative. So okay, I am doing like this way but I am not getting the mark. Okay, then discuss with the teacher and make a final step plan that you can learn in a better way. Then the teacher should, in the assessment for learning, teacher should provide parents or guardian with a descriptive feedback about the students learning and ideas for lending support to the learning of their children. So what are the things parents can do or the guardians can do about giving support to the children education, that to be told in this assessment for learning. Then assessment of learning report fair, accurate and detailed information that can be used to decide the next step in students learning. So the report should not be biased. It's a fair report because based upon the report, student have to choose their career, whether he have to go to the science background or commerce background or history background. So with respect to that analysis or assessment, the authorities, educational authorities or the student himself is going to think about that. So this is about the one basis of analysis. Then we'll be going with the last basis of analysis, that is type of assessment. So just remember one thing, assessment as learning is a formative assessment. It promotes self-learning and help the learner to improve his or her learning. But when it comes to assessment for learning is formative and diagnostic. To help the teacher to find the learning needs of the student and modify their teaching accordingly. Then the last one, assessment of learning, it is summative. Assessment of learning is summative. It is highly useful for parents, teachers, and educational administrators. So these are the important classification or comparison of these three assessments: assessment as learning, assessment for learning, and assessment of learning. That's it for the session. Thank you very much.